The National Museum of Toys and Miniatures welcomes you to Tiny Textiles. Miniature artists work in a variety of media, but one of the most challenging is textiles. Textiles are woven fabrics, and artists who create miniature textiles have a particularly challenging job. They must make sure that the thread and the fabrics they use are the right proportion for the scale of the object, and they must carefully consider the colors they use so the miniatures don't appear oversaturated. Last but not least, they must possess amazing skills and hand-eye coordination. Let's explore 3 types of miniature textiles in TM's collection: weavings, needlepoints, and quilts. Yarn and thread is made when clumps of fibers are spun on a machine called a spinning wheel. These spinning wheels in 2 different scales, 1/12 and 1/6, are replicas of an 18th century tabletop spinning wheel that miniature artist William R. Robertson found in the Paris flea markets. The spinning wheels actually work. The process of turning fiber into cloth begins with spinning wheels. These spinning wheels operate with a hand crank. The spinner would twist natural fibers, like wool or silk, onto the rotating wheel. These spinning wheels can be found in the Masterpiece Gallery. This sewing casket is a replica of one needlepointed by an 11-year-old girl named Martha Edlin in the 17th century. Martha kept many small treasures in her casket, and the miniature contained spools, needles, and lace bobbins. The wood casket was made by William R. Robertson, and the sides and top are covered with 26 petty point panels by Esther Robertson and Annelle Ferguson. Petty point is made with tiny stitches on silk mesh, and they chose to use muted colors to make the casket look more realistic. It measures 1 inch long and a little over 1 inch tall and can be found in the Masterpiece Gallery. This tilt-top game table was also made by William R. Robertson and his mom, Esther Robertson. This type of table would have been used in the 18th century for card games and tilted flat when it wasn't in use. Esther used 41 thread colors to make the 33,000 stitches on the tabletop. She ripped out the stitches on the background of the border 3 times because it was too much color, too bright, or too dark. She finally found the perfect color inspiration: a brown paper bag. You can find the little tilt-top table in the Fine Scale Miniatures Gallery behind Twin Manors. Quilts are bed coverings made out of scraps and layers of fabric. America has a strong tradition of quilts which were originally made with recycled bits of fabric. Today, quilts are as much works of art as they are bedding. Artist Kate Adams, who comes from a long line of quilters, put her mark on the art form by making miniature quilts. This American Eagle quilt is made from antique fabric from the 19th century and measures almost 8 inches long and almost 7 inches wide. Do you have any quilts in your house? This quilt can be found in the Fine Scale Miniatures Gallery. Quilts are made up of patchwork designs of geometric shapes and symbols that often have special meanings. This miniature quilt by Susie Knorr is called a wedding ring, and the pattern was first published in 1928 in the Capper's Weekly, a Topeka, Kansas publication. Quilts like these would often be given as a gift to newlyweds to be used and passed down in their families for generations. Do you have a quilt that's been passed down in your family? This wedding ring quilt can be seen in the Fine Scale Miniatures Gallery. Now that we've learned about needlepoint and quilts, let's learn about our final type of textiles: weavings. Weavings are textiles made on a tool called a loom. The loom holds warp threads tight so the weaver can weave another thread, called the weft, over and under them to make the textile. This fine-scale miniature loom is only 5 inches tall, and it shows a weaving in progress. Look closely. Can you see the white warp threads on the loom? What about the red weft threads that are woven over and under to create the textile? This fine-scale miniature loom was made in 1982 by Linda Stifel and can be seen in the miniature maze. This fine-scale miniature blanket is called a coverlet. They were popular in the early 19th century, and they were woven by both men and women. Artist Bonnie Backey created this miniature coverlet, which measures only 7 3/4 inches long and 7 1/4 inches wide, on a full-scale loom. The style is called a geometric because of the diamond and oval pattern. This coverlet can be found in the miniature maze. Now that you've heard all about these textiles, test your knowledge with this quiz. Which of these textiles uses warp and weft threads? A. Needlepoint, B. Weaving, C. Quilting, D. All of them. Weavings are made by weaving weft threads through stationary warp threads on a loom. What is another name for miniature needlepoint? A. Tiny point, B. Miniature point, C. Little point, D. Petty point. If you said petty point, you're right. Which of these textiles is made out of recycled fabric scraps? A. Quilts, B. Weavings, C. Needlepoint, D. All of them. Quilts were originally made out of recycled bits of fabric because fabric was hard to make and people didn't want to waste it. Thanks for joining us for this TM2Go video. Now that you've explored our collection, download the instructions to create your own miniature textile. Don't forget to share your creation with us on social media and share the activity with your friends. We'll see you next time.